I was listening to a couple of videos and, people were talking about the population and how the white population will be smaller, but hanging on to the power and all this stuff. And I have to completely disagree with all of that. And let me please explain my side of things. First of all, many of you that are talking like that, you left out so much pertinent information and you're just not looking at the bigger picture. The Caucasoid population is acting out right now, and you see racism going through the roof, is because they know what's happening to them. They're fully aware of it. And if they don't start reproducing or things don't change where they start maintaining a strong population, it's pretty much over for them. This is why they have somebody like Donald Trump in office. They can't turn this thing around, ladies and gentlemen. If they could, you would have seen it by now. In order for you to pass down to another generation, you got to have a damn generation in the first place. And they don't have that. And they're fully aware of this. I'm going to kindly point you back to an article that came out June 22nd, 2017. And in this article, it said, during a period between July 2015 to July 2016, the non-Hispanic white population grew by just 5,000 people. Who are you going to pass everything down to if you're not reproducing? That's not enough for them to keep a grip on this American economy. That means everything's got to change. Do you realize that? Everything's got to change. What do you think this 5,000 people are going to do? They're going to be the police officers and the judges and the lawyers. They can't be everything. Just like if it was only 5,000 black people, we can't do everything. Do you know or even fully understand how fast the white population is declining? They're declining fast, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, it's estimated that the baby boomers, which is the last large white population, this is why you keep reading articles where it says the white population is older, while all of the others, the Asians, the blacks, and the Hispanics, are all younger. It's the truth. The baby boomers are their last biggest white population. Once the baby boomers go, there are no more large white population within their group at all. We outnumber all of the other generations. We outnumber them. This article that you're looking at on my screen right now was written in 2012. In 2012, they estimated the baby boomers would be gone in 20 years. And we're already in 2017. They would all be gone in the big majority of them. which they're even estimating most of them will not even make it into their 90s, will be gone in 20 years. Think about that. And they know it. And it says right here, 2012, 20 years from now, the baby boom generation will be dying off rapidly. Rapidly. I was reading this is the last largest group of white elders to be on Social Security. This is the last biggest group among them to be on Social Security. After this group die out, the other groups getting Social Security will be much smaller. This is huge for them. This is huge. Some are calling it the silver tsunami. That's how fast they're going to be dying out. The silver tsunami. The baby boomers are the generation that came after World War II. They had wiped out 60 million of their own people fighting World War II. So they attempted to replenish those people that were lost. And that's where your baby boomers come from. They were born during that time period after the war was over. That's where your baby boomers come from. And they're now your elderly. Now, I want you to think about 5,001 year. Your baby boomers will be gone within a 15-year period. And then think about this. Now we have another generation lost to drugs. So many are dying on the opioids, the heroin, and the fentanyl to the point where they're calling this present young generation the lost generation. That's how many of them are dying. I have a story that I'm going to be doing a little later saying that they're up to 150 deaths, drug deaths per day. And you have the baby boomers dying out at the same exact time period, ladies and gentlemen. The vast majority of your drug deaths are white. Most of them are white males between 25 and 54. These are also the people that are, number one, having a hard time finding work. A lot of these drug addicts are unemployed. A lot of them are. Companies just simply don't want them. And the ones they have working, they're losing. This is why you're seeing more articles complaining about productivity dropping on these jobs, declining and it's lower because of the drug addiction. These drug addicts don't come to work. They don't come to work. And in many cases, they don't call out. They just disappear. And then you have a situation where a lot of junkies are trying to work to get at least one paycheck. Because with that one paycheck, they can get drugs, and then they just leave the job after one paycheck. That's all they're trying to accomplish so that they can get their drugs. So you don't have a generation of people that are looking for a career or working to retire. No, they're working to get that first paycheck so they can get some drugs and then disappear and never return back to the job. That's what's happening out here. This is a woman in this picture that's raising twin granddaughters. Her son died of heroin when they were just 6 weeks old. This is happening to a lot of white elderly people now. They either got a son or daughter, or both the husband and wife are on drugs and can't raise the kids. This is why the foster care system is exploding with these white children. This is what's happening now. This is reality of what's going on in America. 23 million people in the US are addicted to drugs. That's a whole nation of people. This is why they wanted Donald Trump to declare this drug plague as a national emergency. But I don't believe Donald Trump is going to sign the declaration because it's been well over a month. He has not signed it. And signing it means billions more on top of what they've already poured into the drug addiction will happen. States will have access to that funding to fight the drug addiction that's going on. He won't sign it. And if you go back and look at the recent reports Donald Trump has put out, he only wants to fight it on the street level. He said that declaration is not to treat addicts out here at all. So if that's the case, nobody's going to be off of drugs. You're just going to fight it at the street level, but you're not going to give any money towards treatment. Then there's no way the addiction could possibly go away. But let's face it, they're not going to get the drugs off of the streets. It's too many drugs pouring into the United States all kinds of ways. If they could get the drugs off of the streets, you would have seen it by now, ladies and gentlemen. It's just simply not going to happen. And all of those drugs aren't coming in from Mexico. A lot of drugs are pouring in here from Canada and from even the islands and including China. It's coming in all kinds of ways. And if he's not going to look to treat the people on drugs, then there's no way you're going to win the battle just fighting it on the streets. It is just simply not going to, it's not viable for anything like that to even work. So now you're losing two major generations. You're losing the baby boomers and now this generation, which they're calling the lost generation. Donald Trump is not the answer. But in time, I think they will realize that. Some of them already have. But the others, they are diehard. They're going to go down fighting for Trump. And Trump is not doing a damn thing for them or their situation right now. A lot of these states are still crying for help when it comes down to these drug epidemic and the deaths, and morgues are packed with these bodies, 150 a day. This is why they call it the deaths of despair, 25 to 54. Now, we have to throw one more thing in that's going through the roof. That's the suicide rate. Now, most suicides are white males, and these white males are between 35 and 64. And for the white women, it's 45 to 64. For the males, 35, I believe. Let me just go down in this. Yeah, it's like 35 to 64 is the sharpest. And these are primarily your white males. Um, and the suicides in America are at 121 per day. And that was as of 2016, 121 per day. Drug deaths, 150 a day. And then you got the baby boomers, and I'm not sure how many per day, but these people are old. They're elders. Okay? You got all of this, ladies and gentlemen, going on all at the same time. All at the same time. They know how serious it is. That's why you got the cops acting crazy. But what they don't realize, that is not the answer. Killing black men in the street is not your answer. That's not going to do a damn thing to boost your population. They're not doing anything that's going to help them. And Trump's not doing anything that's going to help them either. Killing us, that's not the answer. They've been killing us for centuries. And it has not put a dent in the black population. We are still producing more than those black people that are dying. But they can't say the same. In order to maintain wealth, you have to have somebody to pass it down to. And right now, it's less and less of that happening for the white population. Less and less. I mean, and just look, even at the related articles, white Americans are dying as younger as drug and alcohol abuse rises. Look at this one. Death rates rising for middle-aged white Americans, study find. These articles are coming out all the time. It's coming out all the time. And it's mostly about them, the white population, and what's going on with them, because that's where most of the deaths are in America. We're witnessing just how the Neanderthals left this planet. I think they left it the same way that we're watching the white population go. I think they were no longer able to reproduce and keep themselves on this earth. And this is what's happening to them. We're watching history repeat itself. We're watching a group of people that just simply cannot reproduce themselves. And I do not believe it's not because they're aren't unable to procreate. I think they can procreate. They can have sex. But many of them are just not, the sexual acts are just not resulting in a pregnancy. Not like it used to. And I did another article maybe like 2 months ago of how white couples are now running to Eastern Europe for surrogate mothers to have their babies. Now, if they were reproducing, why would there be a need to run to East Europe for a baby? And even the Eastern Europeans, when you look at their numbers are dramatically down. But this is what they're doing. You would never do that if you weren't having trouble with reproduction. And like I said, when I go out, I barely see white women with toddlers. I remember even 15 years ago, I would go out and you would see them pushing the baby carriages and the strollers with the babies, and you hardly see any of that. When I see many white parents now, they got teenagers with them. You see very few of them walking around with toddlers and babies. Now, when I go out, see the black women and the Latino women walking around with babies, and the Asians, but very few whites. When I used to see it a long time ago, but it's just simply not, I'm not seeing it now. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is worldwide. Everything in this country is going to change. You're going to see your police force and your legal system gradually become more black and brown. 5,000 people is not enough to fill all of those jobs in America. You're going to see less and less Caucasoids on jobs every day. Everything's going to change. It's going to have to change. They right now don't have the numbers to keep the economic wealth going. It's going to have to change hands. If you're not reproducing, then how do you maintain your hold on all of the other groups on Earth? You can't. You can't. And this is what they're really upset about. They are not going to be able to keep control. This is why, if you notice now, they're threatening a lot of people out in public. They're fighting a lot more out in public. Not only are their numbers falling, but they're fighting each other out in the streets. Every time you see a protest of white people in the street, it's a lot of swinging and fighting. It's very violent. You can pull up the videos on YouTube and see this for yourself. They are a very, very divided group now. They're not as united as they once used to be. And they already know this. Please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can donate to my channel, please do. Peace, family.